G'day gamers, Aussie Wargamer here in Moree, Australia, and welcome to my channel. It's blowing a gale outside, so I'm recording inside today. On this episode, I'll be chatting about conversions, my favourite ones I've done, and why you should convert minis in your army. So let's get to it, eh? So I made a video last year giving 5 tips on converting your minis. Link to that in the video description below. So this time around, I want to show you a bunch of my favourite conversions, how I made them, and why I reckon it's made the model and my army better. So first up is one of my earliest conversions, and that's my Skelly Warriors. I've rebased them for AOS and given them another lick of paint, but I made these way back in 2002. I really like the idea of Skelly Bobs coming out of the ground, so I just partially assembled and cut up a bunch to simulate the bony ones bursting forth from the earth that had previously enveloped them. It's a super simple conversion, but it adds a bit of narrative and a bit of interest to the unit. So speaking of simple conversions, some weapon swaps can go a long way when theming an army, like my Egyptian themed Zengor. A Tomb King sword and shield makes for a trouble-free conversion, but it really helps push the theme of the army and make him a bit different to everyone else's. I love putting a unique army on the table, and these easy conversions are a great way of doing that. Like me Bretonvaneth Grail Knights. I just got some twigs from some Sylvaneth kits, stuck them on the lance, sculpted some leaves on the tabard and bark on the shield, but together, especially with the right paint job, it's really thematic and something that no one else is going to have on the table. One of my favourite ways of converting minis is by reposing them. I repose my unit of Kurnoth Hunters because while they're fairly dynamic models, I had a vision in my head of exactly what I wanted them to look like. The great thing about these models is that it's easy to sculpt extra bits for them as they're fairly natural, and also it's pretty easy to hide bits with foliage and shoulder pads and the like. This one was a pretty tricky repose as I had to sculpt about 80% new arms and legs, but I was committed to the pose. I also reposed all my pink horrors, mostly doing tricks like handstands and the like. This one is spinning around on his pole. Usually, I'll dry fit the new pose first, glue the new pose together using a little bit of green stuff to mark any gaps that need filling or sculpting, and then I'll do the sculpting once the glue's all dry. Kit bashing, where you get bits from different kits and smush them together to create something unique, is another really exciting and fun way of converting your minis. I made a bunch of kit bashed minis for my Bretonvaneth army, including my Sacred Protector that's half Dreadblade Harrow and half Pegasus Knight, with a few other bits and pieces thrown in for good measure. Likewise, my Lord on Pegasus is a mishmash of Pegasus Knight, Alariel's Wings, a Bretonnian Knight of the Realm, and a tabard and horns from the Tree Lord kit. I love hunting bits down that will go well together, and fitting it all so it works cohesively is really satisfying. If I'm being brutally honest, a lot of conversions I do is because I want to save a bit of dosh. My Alariel is a great example of that. I wanted Alariel in the army, but I didn't want to pay the $200 odd for the kit. I managed to split a kit with someone on Facebook, paying $50 for just Alariel. And so, to fit the theme of my army, I made a giant water beetle and cast it in clear resin. As I wanted Alariel's wings for the Pegasus, I just used a couple of plastic leaves from a fake plant for her wings. It's not my best conversion, but it's thematic and it saved me about 100 clams in the end. I reckon the most important thing a good conversion should do is tell a story. Alariel is a good example of that, where the Elven Queen is summoning up a water beetle, but it doesn't have to be as complex as that. I converted me Necromancer out of a reposed Empire Wizard, and I used paper clips to make lightning come out of her hands. It's a super easy conversion, but it looks totally bonza and adds a little dynamic narrative to the model, like she's just taking off with her sort of lightning from her palms making her fly. I mean, most complex conversion to date does a similar thing. The great necromancer himself, Nagash. I wanted to do a seated Nagash, so I reposed and sculpted him to be sitting on a Coven throne platform, held up by not only the throne's spirit cloud, but his host of spirits as well. This conversion took a lot of planning and figuring out to get right, but I'm really happy with it. Dry fitting is so important in conversions like this, and planning everything out, trying to figure out how it's going to look and how you're going to put it together before gluing anything down. It's unique, but it also depicts Nagash in a slightly different light to the normal model as he's riding into battle, preparing a spell to smite his enemies. You can have so much fun with the details of conversions like this and tell a really nice story, from the broken stained glass window on the base to the sword hanging on the back of his throne. Well, for me, converting minis is an absolute joy, and I strongly encourage you to get out and give it a go. It's a great hobby challenge and really rewarding when you can put something on the table that's truly unique. Well, that's all from me. Thanks for watching, and as always, subscribe if you want to hear more of my voice. Catch yous later.